So this is the story about the two times that I was an ass to one specific provider. It was the birthday of an ex of mine, and I was in the city again. I was going to meet up with her afterwards, but since I had the day off, I figured I'll go into the city early and do what I do. So I found a website where there were incredibly beautiful looking Asian girls. And the special thing about this website was that the girls looked young. So they looked like they were actually in their early 20s as opposed to what you usually get is early 30s. And of course the photos were photoshopped, but I had heard good reviews from other people, and I also heard from a reliable source that these two girls were actually in their early 20s. So I picked the one that most suited my taste and went ahead, made the call. And this is probably one of the nicer establishments that I visited. It was in Midtown Manhattan, in the 50s. And beautiful building. Went up the elevator, did the typical two phone call system. And when I got in, I saw that it was a residence. It looked like an actual apartment. Now, usually the massage parlors look just like that. They look like massage parlors, or at least they're made to look like that. But this one looked like it was a residence. So I went directly into the living room. Really high ceilings, very traditional New York style, American style, very nice. The furniture, the rugs, the bookshelves, everything looked like it was luxurious. Anyway, I met the mama-san. She asked me who I was there to see. I let her know, and she led me to the room. And it was the first time that I had ever been to a place that had a bed. So it wasn't a massage table, it was an actual bed. And the room, from what I remember, looked kind of like the living room. Again, like it was somebody's actual room, like these people were just renting an apartment, but they also lived there, whatever. And so the room was nice, the bed was nice, the view was nice. It was a great spot. And again, I had heard from a reliable source that this was a good place, or that actually these girls were in their early 20s. So when the knock comes to the door, I didn't know what to expect. But as soon as the door opened, I saw that those sources were correct. In came in this about 5'1", 5'2", beautiful, beautiful Asian girl. I don't know her ethnicity. I think she said she was Korean. And she had long hair, long golden brown hair. Her face was perfect to me. All the proportions were right. Nothing too big, nothing too small, everything just right. Her tits also fit her. They were A's, maybe small B's, but I appreciate that, as well as the man-made, but natural to me is probably the best way to go. But anyway. And her ass followed suit. Also, not big, but not flat. So this girl, she was skinny and beautiful. Beautiful face. She was tan and had a very sweet, sweet voice. She greeted me and it was off to the races. So in typical fashion, she told me to take off my clothes, put on the robe, get ready for the table shower. I do that. We walk into the table shower, and this was probably at that point the most sensual table shower that I had. She cleaned me up just like always, took off the robe, really catered to me. But it was the first time where there was just a preview of what was to come. And I hadn't been to any establishment that did that yet. So while She was cleaning me. I flipped. She cleaned everything. And then she just licked from my balls all the way up to the tip of my dick. And I was just like, wow. I never had that before. And this was, like I said, a beautiful girl. And so, still being responsible, I asked for the condom. She said it was in the room. I said, okay. I got dressed. I put on the robe, and we headed back to the room. And she asked me for the rest of and apparently there were some forms that were accepted, some forms that weren't accepted, and I didn't have what was accepted. So I said, okay, so I'm gonna have to run out and I'll be back. And she said, okay, but are you sure you're gonna be back? I said, yes, I'm gonna be back for sure. So the mama-san told me, where to go, where I can get, whatever. And after I left, I found the place, went in, and out. Something just stopped me. I don't know if it was the guilt that it was my ex's birthday and I had told her that we were going to have a good time. I don't know. But the point of the story was that I just flaked. I flaked on this beautiful provider because I guess guilt. I'm still not sure to this day because I stayed with a lot of disgusting ogres in my day, but for whatever reason, I just chose not to stay this time. And I left. And I went on to meet my ex and we had a good time, whatever. But I always thought about that girl because she really was probably one of the youngest providers that I've ever seen, if not the youngest. And she was beautiful to me. So I made an effort to try to see her again. By the time that I wanted to see her again, obviously, she moved from that location. I wasn't sure where she was. At that time, I wasn't really part of any forums, couldn't really ask around. So I just waited and kept checking websites, kept trying to see if I could find her. Till eventually I did. And it was several years later, but they were exactly the same pictures that were on the previous website were on this website. So I figured this has to be either the same girl or they're just using the same pictures. The only thing that was photoshopped in those pictures of the girl was that she looked like she had like double D tits, and where the real girl only had A's or B's. And so I found her, I took a gamble. Now this was in downtown in Manhattan. And the location was way different from the first location. The first location looked upscale, it was great. Everything looked clean. This place, it might as well have been a haunted house or something. I went up, it was a 2-floor building. I went up the stairs, knocked on the door, and a huge mama-san, like 6'4" mama-san, comes walking out, super fat, smoking, asks me who I want to see. She's still using the same name. I say it. She brings me to her. And by this time, I'm there, I'm waiting in the room, hoping that it's the same girl, but still really not sure if it is. And in walks in that very same girl, the one that I flaked on. And I was scared, stupidly, that she was going to remember me. Obviously, she probably saw thousands of guys. There's no way. Plus, it was several years later. But she didn't remember me. She greeted me as sweet as she did the first time. And it was the same sort of routine. So we go to the table, shower. She washes me, etc., all like the first time. Still great service. However, this time there was a difference. And that difference was that I could clearly smell the cigarettes on her breath. And that, for whatever reason, just turned me off. It was the first time that I had really smelled cigarettes on a provider. I'm sure they all, some smoke, some don't, but usually whatever they did, they freshened up before I got there. So I could never tell that they smoked or whatever. But there was a clear scent of cigarettes, and the closer she got, the more I was repulsed, until eventually, just like this last time, she licked my balls all the way to the tip of my dick, and then she came up and she kissed me on the lips. And at that point, I was already gone mentally. For whatever reason, I tried to go to this girl again, and I just didn't feel comfortable. The whole place looked super seedy to me, and maybe these are just excuses that I'm making because, like you guessed it, I flaked out again. I told her this time the bullshit story that I didn't have it. I did have it. I told her that I was leaving. Oh no, excuse me, sorry. I'm lying. That's not what happened. What happened was that I made up a story like that. I didn't know that this was that sort of place and that I felt uncomfortable. And so she's kind of confused, like, what the fuck? Of course you know what kind of place you're coming to. And so she brings in the mama san. The mama san is talking to me. She's asking me, what's going on, and I'm telling her, I'm lying through my teeth, just saying, that my friend told me about this place. He told me it was a good massage, but I didn't know it was this kind of place, and I have a girlfriend, and I don't want to do this, etc., etc., etc. Just all bullshit. So what ended up happening was that I paid for the table shower. I paid for the table